welcome to part 8 of the Chalice of Blood Warhammer 40,000 narrative campaign, brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. And so we reach the final battle. If you haven't yet watched the rest of this campaign, we would recommend you do so. We've had planetary assaults, massacres, bitter cities of death street fighting, the death of captains, praetors and grandmasters, betrayals, ambushes and jewels of honour. And finally we come to this. The World Eaters have what they need from the world of Chalice and Tertius, but the Raven Guard First Company have arrived to aid their desperate brothers, and before the traitors can leave, there will be a reckoning in blood. The battle today is 4,000 points, and the Raven Guard veterans want nothing more than to slay every traitor in vengeance for what they have done on this world. The World Eaters must resist the Ravens' attacks. They have no further interest in this world, but when have they ever backed down from a fight? We're using a slightly larger battlefield today to give the army some room. It's 8 by 4 and it will be Vanguard strike deployment. The mission is simple. Both sides want to annihilate the other. Let's take a look at the armies. This 4,000 point World Eaters army is led by Arian himself. He is a Legion Centurion, upgraded to a Mastery Level 3 member of the Librarius. He has a Force Axe, Artificer Armour and a Refractor Field. He has appointed a new Master of Signal to fill a second HQ slot, and he has got a new command squad. There's 5 of them. They have the Legion Standard, 2 Power Fists, 2 Power Swords and a pair of Lightning Claws. And since this is Nearchus's warband, although he's dead, Arian has just taken it over, so we have allowed the World Eaters to retain Pride of the Legion, meaning that the command squad are mounted in a Land Raider with armoured ceramite, and the first 2 troops choices are a squad of Legion veterans. They have the Sniper's Tactic and they are in a Rhino, and a squad of Cataphracti Terminators, 2 pairs of Lightning Claws, a Reaper autocannon and 3 Power Fists. The other troop slots are filled by large World Eaters tactical squads. We have the first of 15. They have bolt pistols and chain axes. Their sergeant has Artificer Armour and a Power Fist, and they will be accompanied by an apothecary from one of this detachement's elite slots. And then we have an identical squad, 15 World Eaters with chain axes and bolt pistols. The sergeant has a Power Fist, Artificer Armour and another apothecary. And the final troop's choice is a Legion support squad. They have 4 melter guns and they are mounted in a Rhino. As well as the apothecaries, Arian has access to many elite World Eaters troops, including a squad of 10 destroyers. They have jump packs, bolt pistols, chain axes. Their sergeant has Artificer Armour, a Power Fist and 3 of the deadly Phosphex bombs. A Legion Rapier fills another elite slot with a laser destroyer, and there are 3 Contemptor Dreadnoughts making up a Talon, 1 with twin Kerry's assault cannons and a Havoc missile launcher, 1 with 2 Power Fists with heavy flamers and a Havoc missile launcher, and the final one with a multi-melter and a Power Fist, and he has a melter gun in his Power Fist as well. For heavy support, this World Eaters list contains 2 Predators. One has a Plasma Executioner and 2 las cannon sponsons, and the other is kitted out for anti-personnel with a Predator cannon and 2 heavy bolter sponsons. And finally we have one choice which is unique to the World Eaters Legion, a squad of 10 Rampagers with their gladiatorial weaponry, excoriator chain axes, 2 meteor hammers. The champion has a Power Fist and 1 Rampager has twin phalanx blades, and they are in a Land Raider with armoured ceramite. This is a typically aggressive and brutal World Eaters list. let's see what the Ravens are deploying from their first company to take them on. This 4,000 point Raven Guard list is battle forged and represents the newly arrived first company with a few elements of Coyone's force that originally landed on Chalice and Tertius. It is led by Captain Vikar Kaid, the captain of the Raven Guard First Company, and he has Artificer Armour, a Power Axe and the Shield Eternal, and he has brought a chaplain with him as well. They have got a squad of 3 Honour Guard. They all have relic blades and their standard bearer is carrying the standard of the Emperor Ascendant. And then we have 2 First Company task forces. The first are the Vanguard, with 1 squad of 10 with Twin Lightning Claws and Jump Packs, another squad of 10 with Power Fists, Storm Shields and Jump Packs, and a squad without Jump Packs. They have a mix of Power Swords, Power Axes, Power Fists, there's some Storm Shields and some Plasma Pistols in there as well. This really is a deadly close combat First Company task force. The second task force, has a squad of Terminators. They have a Heavy Flamer. Another squad of Vanguard Veterans with Jump Packs. They have Bolt Pistols and Chain Swords. And a full strength squad of 10 Stern Guard. They have 2 Combi Melters and they have brought along a Rhino. To carry the first company we have another formation. We have a Land Raider Spearhead. We have 2 Land Raiders with Twin Link Las Cannon and 1 Land Raider Redeemer, which will be carrying the Honour Guard and Captain Kaid himself. And continuing the first company theme, we have got a unique Raven Guard formation, a Raven Hawk assault group consisting of a squad of 5 Stern Guard veterans. They have 3 Combi Melters, an Ironclad Dreadnought. He has 2 Heavy Flamers along with his Power Fists, and they will enter battle transported in a Storm Raven, which has Twin Link Las Cannon, Twin Link Multi-Melters, and of course its missiles. These are the elements of the first company that have come to their brother's aid, and there are some survivors from Captain Coyone's force. Sergeant Core is back. He has a squad of 5 scouts. They have camo cloaks and sniper rifles. A tactical squad of 5, they have a plasma gun and they are mounted in a Rhino. Then as a fast attack choice, we have a squad of bikes, 2 melter guns, an attack bike with a multi-melter and a veteran sergeant with a power sword. And the final squad surviving from the third company are the Devastators, 5 of them with 4 missile launchers. So these are the Ravens that must prevent the World Eaters from leaving Chalice and Tertius. They are out for vengeance. Let's take a look at deployment. And the armies have deployed with the World Eaters roaring to the defence of their landing fields and setting up a formidable battle line. All the way over on their right flank they have deployed their special weapons squad with melter guns in their Rhino, looking to move forward into the watchtower building, and they are supported by the hulking forms of the Cataphracti Terminators, while behind them, preparing to leap at the hated loyalists, are the Destroyers. The veterans have parked their Rhino at the bottom of this landing pad, whilst they and the newly appointed Master of Signal have taken great sniper positions behind the barricades and on top of the landing pad itself. And on the rocky rise behind, the tracked form of the Rapier laser destroyer has ground up to the summit, and he has a fantastic field of fire from there as well. The centre of the World Eaters line is held by the 3 Contemptor Dreadnoughts. They are terrifying as a Talon, and they are looking to stomp forwards into this ruined base. They are supported by one predator, which is hull down in a ruined shrine with its executioner plasma cannon and its las cannons, and then we have the horde of world eaters, both tactical squads with their apothecaries. They are looking to run forward and swarm all over this sector of the battlefield. They are supported by the predator with its predator cannon and heavy bolters, and Arian, his command squad and their land raider are overseeing this part of the line. He does not want to risk his own life yet, but his command squad is so formidable he surely will if the Ravens close in. The support squad with the autocannons have taken up a position behind these barricades. They are protecting the landing zones, and in front of them the rampagers in their land raider have already scouted forwards. As usual, they cannot wait to get at the hated enemy. So a very, very formidable and brutal line formed by the traitors, but the Ravens are also spoiling for a fight. Sergeant Corps and his scouts have led the first company as near to the world eaters as possible, and they are leading the charge with their land raider spearhead. The Redeemer contains Captain Kyde and his chaplain and his honour guard, and they are supported by two more land raiders, one containing a squad of 10 Vanguard veterans and one containing a squad of Terminators. They are looking to smash through this base and get at the traitors. Meanwhile, a wave of jump packs has taken up position in the centre. 3 squads of Vanguard, and they have a very good view of the traitor positions. They are going to try and cover the ground as quickly as possible, while behind them the last Devastator squad from the 3rd Company gives them some fire support. Over towards the Raven Guard left flank, we have a squad of Stern Guard in their Rhino looking to move through this section of ruined military outpost to flank the World Eaters, and they are supported by a tactical squad in a Rhino and the last bikers from the 3rd Company. The Ravens, their army looks a lot smaller, but they have a lot embarked on transports. They also have the Ravenhawk assault group in reserve who will be flying in their Storm Raven. The World Eaters have deployed everything. They are looking to employ their favourite tactic of a brutal frontal assault. The World Eaters deployed first, so unless the Ravens can seize initiative, we will kick this battle off with World Eaters turn 1. And with a mighty roar of triumph, we have a 6 for seize the initiative. The Ravens, they are desperate to get at these traitors. Before the World Eaters can grind forwards, the Ravens are coming at them. Going into Raven Guard, turn 1. End of Raven Guard movement phase, turn 1, and the assault has begun. Sergeant Corps and his scouts, they have held position. They are hunting for World Eaters apothecaries with their sniper rifles, and the Land Raider spearhead has begun to rumble forwards. They have all moved 6 inches. Captain Kyde has brought his Redeemers, assault cannons and multi-melter just into range of the nearest World Eaters tactical squad, while the 2 Land Raiders with their twin-link las cannon, they are looking to take out at least one of the Contemptors in the centre. 2 squads of 5 Vanguard from the centre are moving in support of the Land Raider spearhead, while their comrades from the 1st Company Task Force, they are feeling belligerent. They are making straight towards the nearest part of the World Eaters line. The 3rd Company Devastators have held position. They're scanning for targets, and the other squad of Vanguard with bolt pistols and chainswords, they are moving up through cover. They are trusting in their chapter tactics to keep them safe from fire from the World Eaters battle line. The Stern Guard, split into 2 combat squads of 5, have disembarked from their Rhino, and they are looking to take possession of this section of ruined base. And the last tactical squad from the 3rd Company, along with the bikers, they are attempting to manoeuvre through the base and round the World Eaters' right flank. So the Ravens, they have started off quite aggressive in the centre, but they want to knock out a few high value targets with their firepower before engaging. The Raven Guard have no psychers, so they have no psychic phase. We go into Raven Guard shooting phase, turn 1. End of Raven Guard shooting phase, turn 1, and disappointment for Sergeant Court and his scouts. He managed to get 2 precision shots on the apothecary in one of the World Eaters tactical squads, but neither of the sniper rounds wounded. This tactical squad's armour also proved very effective against Captain Kyde's Land Raiders assault cannon, but one Marine was vaporised by a shot from its multi-melter. The 2 Land Raiders with the twin-link las cannon opened fire on one Contemptor dreadnought. They penetrated twice, and the venerable war machine is stunned and has had one of its power fists blown off. Meanwhile, the Vanguard in the centre, they are running forward. The ones with lightning claws are running to support the Land Raiders, and the ones with power fists are just running towards the World Eaters. The other Vanguard squad are taking up what they hope is good cover in these military buildings, and it was the destroyers on this flank that bore the brunt of the Raven Guard fire. One was taken out by a long-range crack missile from the 3rd Company Devastators, and 2 more slumped dead off the rocky rise when they were targeted at extreme range by Kraken bolts from the newly deployed Stern Guard veterans. Meanwhile, the bikers, they've moved flat out. They are continuing in their efforts to flank the World Eaters line. So, not too many casualties caused by the Ravens in their first shooting phase, but they have turned up with quite an assault-oriented army. But we have no assaults this turn, so we go into World Eaters, turn 1. End of World Eaters movement phase, turn 1, and over on their right flank, the support squad with their melter guns, they have held position. They are going to give fire against the Vanguard out of the top hatch, but they are not willing to expose themselves to assaults just yet. The Cataphracti Terminators, they are moving to counteract the flanking Raven Guard bikers, but Raven Guard in cover on turn 1 are always very difficult to deal with. The World Eaters in this part of their line have decided that these Vanguard veterans with their power fists and their storm shields, they are a huge threat, and they are hoping to bring them down with weight of fire. The destroyers have leapt forward. Their sergeant is priming a Phosphex bomb, and they are getting ready with their bolt pistols, and the veteran snipers on the landing pad, along with the Master of Signal. They are going to try to absolutely saturate these squads with fire. The Rapier laser destroyer has held position. It can see the Land Raiders from its position on top of the rocky outcrop. They will get a cover save, but we shall see. And the 2 mobile dreadnoughts from the Talon in the centre are moving forward. Unfortunately for the World Eaters, this dreadnought with his multi-melter has just failed to get within 12 inches of the central Land Raider from the spearhead. The Predators held position to give fire, and Arian, he has decided that his biomancy powers are not very useful at this stage in the game, so although his Land Raider has rumbled forward 6, neither he nor his command squad have disembarked. The Predator here has held position, and to their front the World Eaters are swarming forwards. They realise that one-on-one they're probably not a match for the Raven Guard veterans, but they have also realised that there are a lot more of them. The support squad with their autocannons, they are going to give fire, and finally, in a display typical of the Rampagers, they have driven their Land Raider straight through this base, smashing through the wall to get as near to the enemy as they can. As Arian has not disembarked from his Land Raider, there is no psychic phase, so we go straight into World Eaters shooting phase, turn 1. End of World Eaters shooting phase, turn 1, and a mixed phase for the traitors. It started well. Sergeant Corps and his scouts are no more. Despite having a 2+ cover save, they were hit and wounded so many times by the World Eaters with autocannons and the Predator and even Arian's Land Raiders heavy bolter, they all went down. These World Eaters tactical squads have run forward a few inches, and the Rampager's Land Raider managed to hit and penetrate Commander Kyde's Redeemer, but the Raven Guard vehicle made its cover save. In the centre, the Kerry's wielding Contemptor combined its fire with the Predator's Plasma Executioner to target the first squad of Vanguard veterans with power fists, and between them they managed to take out 3. That did put the Sergeant's Phosphex bomb out of range, but the destroyers opened fire with their twin bolt pistols and gunned down the last 2. That left the veterans the chance to take out the other squad, but their sniper rounds only took down 1 of them. Meanwhile, the Rapier laser destroyer managed to hit 1 Land Raider from the spearhead, but failed to penetrate. And over on the far right, the tactical support squad managed to hit and wound 1 of the Vanguard veterans in this building, but he made his cover save and the Terminators fired without effect on the bikes. They are in charge range, but they'll need an 11 or a 12 through cover, so it's not worth risking. The Overwatch. So, the World Eater's first shooting phase was more effective than the Raven Guard, but not quite as effective as they would have hoped. So, this battle is finally poised, going into Raven Guard turn 2. End of Raven Guard movement phase turn 2, and Captain Kyde is very reluctant to order his elite veterans to disembark from their Land Raider, while the Predator with the Executioner is still in a good firing position. And to that end, the Ravenhawk assault group has arrived, and they have been ordered to target the traitor vehicle and take it out. Meanwhile, Captain Kyde, throwing caution to the wind, has ordered his Redeemer forwards. He wants to wash 1 Flamestorm cannon over the traitors that are advancing through this base. Meanwhile, the other 2 Land Raiders with their twin-link las cannon, they are ordered to take out this Contemptor. These Contemptors really are a huge threat to the armoured spearheads, so they need to be taken out now. Meanwhile, the assault of the Vanguard continues in the centre. The 4 remaining Vanguard with power fists and storm shields, they are looking to assault the World Eaters veterans on the landing pad, but they are outnumbered. Meanwhile, the destroyers are outnumbered by Ravens. 1 squad of 5 with lightning claws has leapt forwards from behind the Land Raiders, and the 2 squads with bolt pistols and chainswords are looking to overwhelm the destroyers through weight of numbers, and the same may well happen to the Cataphracti Terminators. The bikes have come smashing through this building, although the attack bike has damaged itself. They are all going to target the Cataphracti, as are both squads of Stern Guard that are advancing and the newly deployed tactical squad from the 3rd Company. They have a plasma gun, so there's a lot of melter and plasma fire. Will that be enough to take out the ancient Terminators? We shall see. Meanwhile, 1 squad of Vanguard have pulled back to form a reserve. They are very watchful for the Rampagers continuing to smash forward in their Land Raider, and the Devastators are still happy with their position. They have plenty of targets. So, the Raven Guard assault is about to hit home in the centre, going into Raven Guard shooting phase turn 2. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 2, and a much more effective shooting phase from the Ravens this turn. The Ravenhawk assault group announced their arrival in style. They hit the Predator with their twin-link multi-melter, penetrated, but it was only shaken. Then the follow-up shot from the las cannon penetrated and rolled a 6. The Predator exploded. Meanwhile, Captain Kyde washed 1 of his Redeemers Flamestorm cannons over the advancing World Eaters, Tactical Marines, and managed to incinerate 4 of them. Meanwhile, the other 2 Land Raiders in the spearhead thought that they had not done a very good job when they only got 1 penetrating hit on the nearest Contemptor, but fortunately for the Ravens, that penetrating hit was a 6, and the Contemptor with the multi-melter exploded. The Raven Guard Devastators spied all the way over the other side of the battlefield on the rocky rise the rapier, and opened fire with a volley of crack missiles, and the spotter is left confused and quite angry that his colleague and the artillery platform have been blown to pieces. Disappointment over on this flank for the Raven Guard, although the Cataphractii Terminators were targeted by both Stern Guard squads and the tactical squad, who got 2 hits with their plasma gun and then rolled double 1 to wound, as well as the bikers. Only 2 Terminators went down, so there are still 3 left, and they are very close to the Ravens. The Ravens really were expecting all of those Terminators to go down in this phase, and the Vanguard, who are getting ready to leap at the destroyers, managed to take out 1 with a shot from their bolt pistols. So overall, a good phase from the Raven Guard. Can they follow it up with a good assault phase? Let's see. Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 2. End of Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 2, and the Vanguard veterans have struck in the centre of the World Eaters line. The destroyers were charged by both squads of Vanguard veterans with bolt pistols and chain swords. They leapt in with their jump packs, and they were supported by the squad with lightning claws, who charged in on foot. The Ravens used their Hammer of Wrath very, very effectively with rerolls from their chapter tactics. They took out 3 destroyers just with Hammer of Wrath hits. The remaining destroyers could not do any damage to them and fell to the chainsword wielding Ravens. That left the sergeant on his own preparing his power fist, but even though he was wearing artificer armour, he could not stand up to the 8 wounds inflicted upon him by the Vanguard with lightning claws. So they have lanced into the World Eater centre, but very disappointingly, the squad of Vanguard with power fists and storm shields, they failed their charge up the rock face, even with their rerolls for being Vanguard veterans. So a mixed result in that phase, but the Ravens do look like they are giving very good account of themselves at the moment. Let's see how the World Eaters respond in World Eaters Turn 2. End of World Eaters Movement Phase Turn 2, and Arian is cursing Captain Kyde's cunning tactics by deploying his Land Raider spearhead here. The Raven Guard captain has stranded a sizable proportion of the World Eaters force against targets that they can't really hurt. But Arian has decided that the Land Raiders need to be knocked out, so he is concentrating on them with everything on this side of the battlefield that has a chance of hurting them. So the Rampagers, they have rumbled up a couple of inches in their Land Raider, but they are preparing their twin link las cannons. They have 1 squad of tactical marines moving up in support. Meanwhile, Arian has rumbled forward 6 in his Land Raider, and he is also preparing his twin linked las cannons. Meanwhile, the Predator and the World Eaters with auto cannon, they have been ordered to shoot down the Storm Raven before its deadly cargo is released, and Arian is relying on the Contemptor. He's still got 1 working power fist. He is tasked with smashing open Captain Kyde's Land Raider Redeemer. Meanwhile, the squad of tactical marines that were targeted by the Flamestorm cannon, there's 10 of them left. They are moving up. They can either support the centre against the attack of the Vanguard, or possibly they can bog down whatever comes out of the Redeemer. We shall see, but these 3 vehicles are a very tough proposition for the World Eaters. Meanwhile, in the centre, the Contemptor with the Kerries has moved up to support the Master of Ordnance and the veterans. They have a wave of Raven Guard jump packers coming at them, and the only thing they can do is try to gun them all down. Even the spotter is moving forward with his bolt gun. The tactical support marines have disembarked from their Rhino. They are going to try and drive back some Vanguard with a volley of melter fire, and the Cataphracti Terminators, they are moving to take revenge on the bikers. Surely their power fists and lightning claws will be able to tear through those Raven Guard. But it is tricky for the World Eaters at the moment. Arian still has not disembarked. His biomancy powers are not much use against Land Raiders, so we are relying on an effective shooting phase. World Eaters shooting phase turn 2. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 2, and Arian's plan has failed so far. The Land Raider Spearhead is still unharmed. The Rampagers managed to hit the rear Land Raider twice with their las cannon, but neither penetrated. Arian's Land Raider only hit once with its las cannon, but failed to penetrate. So the Land Raiders, they are standing firm against quite a lot of fire. The Storm Raven bravely elected not to jink and was rewarded, as the combined fire of the Predator and the Marines with autocannons only managed a single glancing hit. Meanwhile, in the centre, the World Eater's fire was more effective. The veterans had their ballistic skill upgraded by the Master of Signal, and they managed to shoot down 3 Vanguard with storm shields and power fists. There's only one left now, but even better news, the Contemptor with his Kerry's assault cannons opened fire, and with an absolute blizzard of assault cannon rounds wiped out the Vanguard veteran squad with lightning claws. So that really has torn a big hole in the Raven Guard veterans in the centre. Meanwhile, fire from the Rhinos was ineffectual, and the tactical support squad only managed to take out 1 Vanguard with a melter gun shot. The Terminators targeted the bikes, but the Reaper autocannon could not penetrate the bikers' armour. So a mixed phase, disappointment on both flanks, quite successful in the centre, but this will be crucial. As we go into World Eater's assault phase, we have the assault of the Contemptor against the Redeemer, and the Cataphracti against the bikers. World Eater's assault phase, turn 2. End of World Eater's assault phase, turn 2, and the Cataphracti Terminators made it into the bikers. They took no damage and easily tore the bikers to pieces. They have consolidated 2 inches, so a good result there for the traitors, but another disastrous result against the Land Raider Spearhead. The Contemptor made it in. He smashed the hull once with his mighty power fist, but he could not get through the Land Raider's formidable armour. It is still unharmed, and the First Company are still embarked. Could it be time for them to emerge and countercharge? We shall see going into Raven Guard, turn 3. End of Raven Guard movement phase, turn 3, and it looks as though the Ravenhawk assault group is going for the throat. The Storm Raven has dropped into hover mode, and he is going to target the rear armour of the Contemptor with the Kerrys. Meanwhile, he has dropped off a squad of Stern Guard veterans. They have their combi melters, and they are going to try and take out the Predator. And as Arian's Land Raider has armoured Ceramites, the Ravens have decided that they need to call in the Ironclad Dreadnought with his power claws to tear the traitor commander from his vehicle. Meanwhile, Captain Kide and his other squads have still not disembarked. He has moved his Land Raider so that he can use power of the Machine Spirit to wash both World Eater's tactical squads with his Flamestorm cannon. Meanwhile, this Land Raider has moved up 6 to take another couple of shots at this Dreadnought, and the other Land Raider from the Spearhead has smashed straight through the building in front of him. 12 inches, he is going to use power of the Machine Spirit to take another las cannon shot if necessary. Meanwhile, these Vanguard with lightning claws, they are still behind the Spearhead. They are attempting to bait the Rampagers out of their Land Raider, but we shall see. The Devastators have held position once again, and in the centre, all the remaining Vanguard, they are tasked with driving the veterans off of this central landing pad. There's still 10 veterans here, and there's 10 veterans on the landing pad as well, so we shall see who triumphs. And meanwhile, the Ravens are going to try again to drop the remaining cataphracti terminators with overwhelming fire. Both squads of Stern Guard are moving in on them, and the tactical squad have moved up a level and are going to fire down on top of them. Looks like the Ravens have got an answer for everything at the moment. Let's see how they get on in their third shooting phase. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 3, and the Stern Guard veterans from the Ravenhawk assault group kicked off the phase very badly by rolling a 111 to hit with their combi melters. So the Predator is unharmed, but the Storm Raven did a lot better and managed to detonate the Kerry's wielding Contemptor Dreadnought on the landing pad with a shot from its twin-link multi-melter, and the Contemptor Talon is finished as the two Land Raiders combine their fire to take this Dreadnought's last hull point. The Redeemer fired one Flamestorm cannon over this tactical squad and took out 3 of them, but only managed to take out one member of this squad with the other Flamestorm cannon due to excellent work by the World Eater's Apothecary. A storm of bolt pistol fire from the Vanguard in the centre made no impression at all on the veterans holding the landing pad, but the sergeant of the tactical support squad was taken out by a crack missile at long range from the Raven Guard Devastators. And there is one Cataphracti Terminator still standing. His 2 brothers were shot down, but it took the fire of both squads of Stern Guard and the tactical squad. He has passed morale, he is still standing proud. So, a mixed phase for the Raven Guard. Some good results and some disappointing. But let's see if they can improve upon that in Raven Guard Assault phase turn 3. End of Raven Guard Assault phase turn 3, and a surprising turn of events this phase. The Stern Guard charge a Predator. They managed to do a single glancing hit with their crack grenades, and the ironclad charged Arian's Land Raider. He landed 2 mighty blows with his fist but only managed 2 glancing hits, so it still has 2 hull points remaining. But in the centre is where we had the big surprise. The Vanguard squads launched themselves into the World Eaters veterans, but underestimated exactly how many attacks the traitor veterans had, and they actually ended up losing the combat 5-4. So they remain locked, but a very surprising result in the centre. Could that be enough? If the centre holds, that the rest of the World Eaters can sweep forwards. Well, we shall see going into World Eaters turn 3. End of World Eaters movement phase turn 3, and the World Eaters are now going all out to try and get Captain Kide and his Honour Guard out of the Land Raider Redeemer. The Rampagers, Land Raider has spun round to target its side with both of its twin-link las cannons, and the Rampagers can be held back no longer. Their champion has a power fist, so they have come spilling out just in case they need to finish this Land Raider in assault, and this sergeant with his power fist is thinking exactly the same. Arian's Land Raider has moved away from the ironclad Dreadnought, and he is also preparing both his twin-link las cannon to open fire. Surely, with all that, they can crack the Redeemer open. And we shall see. Meanwhile, the Predator has backed away from the Stern Guard, and it's going to combine its fire with the World Eaters with autocannons. They are going to try and knock out the hovering Storm Raven. The other tactical squad, they have moved towards the central landing pad. They are going to see if they can charge up to help the veterans finish off these few remaining Vanguard, and even the spotter has climbed the landing pad and may join in. Meanwhile, the 2 Rhinos and the tactical support squad with their melter guns that have moved down to take cover in the cave are going to try to take out this Stern Guard squad, and the World Eaters are relying on their Cataphracti Sergeant to take out this tactical squad. He has climbed to the first floor and he has his lightning claws. If he can get through the overwatch, he should be able to tear them to pieces. But the crucial part of this battle appears to be in this central bunker complex. The Raven Guard Land Raider Spearhead has been indestructible so far. Let's see if that changes in World Eaters shooting phase turn 3. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 3, and this Land Raider Redeemer is proving to be an unconquerable obstacle for them. Another 3 las cannon hits from their 2 Land Raiders bounced harmlessly off of its armour. It still has all 4 of its hull points. Maybe if it had been damaged, the Rampagers and the Tactical Marines could have finished it off with their power fists, but they're very unlikely to do 4 hull points to it. So it looks like the World Eaters have made a mistake. They have disembarked first. They are vulnerable. But good news, the Storm Raven attempted to jink, but it could not jink its way through the hail of autocannon fire that came from the Predator, and the World Eaters behind these barricades, it was shot down easily. No firing in the centre as the veterans are locked in combat, but the 2 Rhinos and the Tactical Support Squad managed to take out 2 Stern Guard from the roof of this building. The Tactical Support Marines actually got 4 hits with their melters and 4 wounds, but the Stern Guard managed to make 3 cover saves. Still, at least the Rhino shot down another, and the Terminator Sergeant has no ranged weaponry, he just has his lightning claws. He is preparing to charge. So this has been a disastrous turn for the traitors. Maybe they'll be able to pull it back in the assault phase. Let's see. World Eaters assault phase turn 3. End of World Eaters assault phase turn 3, and a little consolation. The Power Fists have managed to do 1 hull point to the Redeemer, but of course it's still got 3, and these World Eaters, they look stacked up very nicely for some Flamestorm cannons. But they were getting desperate. Meanwhile, in the centre, the World Eaters veterans have shown that once again they are excellent in close combat and excellent at shooting. They have cut down all the remaining Vanguard veterans without taking any more casualties, which is just as well as this squad moving up in support failed their charge. Meanwhile, over on the far right flank, the Terminator, he has made his charge. He waded through Overwatch fire and attacks coming at him. He only managed to take down 1 Raven though, so the combat goes on. Another disappointing turn for the World Eaters. Let's see if the Ravens can capitalise on it in Raven Guard turn 4. End of Raven Guard movement phase turn 4, and Captain Kyde has decided that now is the time for his armoured spearhead to go for the throat. Although he has not deployed from his Redeemer, he is going to concentrate on washing his Flamestorm cannons over this very enticing target, and then he has ordered his Vanguard, who have deployed from this Land Raider, to prepare for a follow-up charge. Meanwhile, now that the Rampagers have deployed, these Vanguard, they have the advantage of speed, and they are going to try to take them out in a bloody assault. Arian is still in his Land Raider, and although it's going to be targeted by the twin-link las cannon from the rest of the spearhead, Kyde is only too aware that las cannon are not very efficient at destroying Land Raiders, so he has ordered the Ironclad to keep up its assault. The Stern Guard from the Ravenhawk assault group, they need to finish off this Predator. They failed abysmally last turn. They need to make up for that, and the last squad from the Armoured Strike Force is the Terminators. They are wading through the smoke of the exploded Contemptor, and they think that they can take out these World Eaters. Meanwhile, the Devastators, they have been tasked by taking out the veterans on top of the landing pad. The Vanguard could not do it. Maybe they can take it out with fire. And the Stern Guard, they have all moved up to the roof of this building now. They're going to combine their fire with the remaining Raven Guard Rhinos to try to take out the melter gun wielding World Eaters. Meanwhile, the Tactical Squad are still locked in combat with the Cataphracti Sergeant, but the Stern Guard, they're too far away to help. Maybe the Tactical Marines can take him down with weight of attacks, but this looks like the Raven Guard are going for the throat. Let's see what they do in their 4th shooting phase. End of a very poor turn 4 shooting phase from the Raven Guard. Although the Flamestorm cannons cause lots and lots of wounds on these Tactical World Eaters, their Apothecary is a real hero, and only 4 went down. The Vanguard veterans managed to do another wound with their plasma pistols, but once again he stepped forward and saved his brother's life. So that could have been much, much worse. And as the two Land Raiders from the spearhead with the las cannon targeted Arian's Land Raider, it could again have been much worse. They only managed one glancing hit. It's got one whole point left, but if they had cracked it open, then the Ironclad was preparing to charge the World Eater's commander. The Terminators, they had no effect with their Heavy Flamer or their Storm Bolters on this squad. Let's hope they can do a better job in assault. But the Raven Guard Devastators did a very good job. Despite the cover of the barricades, a volley of crack missiles took out 2 of the veterans, but they have passed morale. The Stern Guard were very, very inaccurate with their volley, and they only managed to take out 1 World Eater with a melter gun. And of course the Tactical Squad remain locked in combat. So, a very disappointing phase. Let's see. This could be crucial. Raven Guard, Assault Phase, Turn 4. End of Raven Guard Assault Phase, Turn 4, and a lot has happened. Starting off with the disappointing Stern Guard. They were once again disappointing. They managed to hit the Predator with 2 crack grenades but failed to penetrate its armour, so they have achieved nothing this turn. But the Ironclad Dreadnought finally smashed the last hull point off of Arian's Land Raider, and he and his command squad have come spilling out. They're not pinned, but they are facing quite a few problems. Captain Kide still has not come out of his Redeemer for a start, but the Raven Guard veterans have smashed through his troops that were in this base. The Vanguard from this Land Raider piled into the Tactical Squad. They lost 2 veterans to the World Eater's chain axes, and their sergeant and the World Eater's sergeant took each other out with their power fists, but then the veterans hacked down 9 of the World Eaters and the 2 remaining members of the squad, 1 Tactical Marine and the Apothecary. They are fleeing. Meanwhile, the squad of 5 Vanguard veterans with Lightning Claws, they had to use their reroll to get in to the Rampagers, but they did an excellent job. They lost 1 brother to the Rampagers' Meteor Hammers, and then the 4 remaining Vanguard veterans managed to slice apart 8 of the Rampagers. The Rampagers champion smashed another 2 Vanguard to pieces with his power fist, but the 2 remaining Marines had won the combat, and a sight you really don't see very often. The Rampagers are fleeing. There's 2 members of that squad left. The Terminators, they charged into this Tactical Squad. Their sergeant issued a challenge and was killed by the World Eater sergeant's power fist, but then his Terminators smashed apart 5 World Eaters for no loss themselves, but these World Eaters, they have passed morale. And all the way over on the right flank, the Tactical Marines could not harm the Cataphracti sergeant and lost another of their number to his Lightning Claws. But this has been absolute carnage. We have been removing Marines from the tabletop by the bucket load in this assault phase. But Arian is out. He is not pinned. Maybe he can turn the tide in World Eaters, turn 4. End of World Eaters movement phase, turn 4, and the Rampagers have failed to rally. They continue falling back, but the last surviving Tactical Marine and the Apothecary, they have rallied. Meanwhile, the Heavy Weapons Marines, they have held position. They are under orders, along with the Predator that's backed away from the Stern Guard, to eliminate any Vanguard they can see spilling through this base. And the Land Raider is going to add its formidable firepower as well. Arian and his command squad, they have moved through the wreckage of their Land Raider. They have a couple of power fists and they want to take out that Ironclad. But it seems that the World Eaters are retreating from these Vanguard, and for a very good reason. The Master of Signal is stood on top of the landing pad. The veterans have left him, but he is voxing ships in orbit to call in some fire. The World Eaters have decided to bomb this base into the ground to kill the Raven Guard veterans. These veterans are moving up. They can either give fire against the vanguard survivors, or they can charge in and help out the tactical marines against the Terminator. They also have the spotter still there with them. And over on their right flank, the special weapons marines and the rhinos are going to continue to trade fire with the stern guard. It's not going their way, but they don't have much choice. And the cataphracti sergeant is going to continue to slash and hack his way through the Raven Guard tactical marines. So, although that was a devastating Raven Guard turn, it looks like the World Eaters, they have some plans. And, as Arian has finally decided, well, he didn't really decide, was forced out of his Land Raider, we now have World Eater's Psychic Phase, turn 4. End of World Eater's Psychic Phase, turn 4, and Arian must be enraged. With his 9 dice, he started off by sucking the life out of 2 Stern Guard veterans with Life Leech, and he followed it up by taking out the remaining 3 with Smite. So he has wiped out a squad in his first Psychic Phase, should he have participated earlier. We'll never know. Let's see if the World Eaters can have a similarly effective shooting phase in their 4th turn. End of World Eaters shooting phase, turn 4, and this base is now strewn with Raven Guard corpses. The Master of Signal called down his barrage with pinpoint accuracy right on top of this Vanguard squad, blowing 4 of them to pieces. Another was taken out by the twin-linked heavy bolter on the Land Raider. The 2 Vanguard veterans with jump packs and lightning claws, they went down to a hail of fire from the World Eater support squad with their autocannons, but the Predator did not manage to shoot down any more Raven Guard with its Predator cannon. So that was very, very effective to clear out the Ravens, putting pressure onto the World Eater's commander himself. The only other firing was from the Rhinos and the tactical support squad. The Rhinos had no effect, but the tactical marines with their melter guns managed to take out another Stern Guard veteran. Very, very effective phase of shooting from the World Eaters, given how little they have left in the way of forces. The veterans in the centre and the spotter have not fired. They are going to try to use weight of attacks to deal with the Raven Guard Terminators. Let's see how the World Eaters get on in their 4th assault phase. End of World Eaters assault phase, turn 4, and Arian is furious. As his command squad charged into the Ironclad, the Dreadnought picked up 1 World Eater in each fist and crushed them into a gory mess, and in return the 2 World Eaters with Power Fists managed 4 hits on the Dreadnought, but none of them could penetrate its armour. So the Dreadnought is unharmed, Arian is locked in combat, and Captain Kide is sitting right next to him in his Land Raider. Better news for the World Eaters in the centre though. Weight of attacks managed to drag down 1 Terminator. In return, the 3 remaining Terminators managed 2 hits with their Power Fist, but rolled double 1 to wound. So they lost that combat, but they are fearless. They remain locked. And all the way over back in the watchtower, the Cataphracti Sergeant is continuing with his ritual of killing 1 Raven Guard with his claws each assault phase. They remain locked. This game is still very, very close. Are we going to see Honour Guard versus Traitor Command Squad in Raven Guard, turn 5? End of Raven Guard movement phase, turn 5, and Captain Kide has led his Honour Guard down the assault ramp of the Land Raider Redeemer. He has found who he is looking for, and he wants to take the traitor's head. He has ordered his Redeemer to motor off, barging the traitor Land Raider out of the way, and the rest of the spearhead to advance as well. They are going to try and mop up these traitors and break their way through towards the traitor landing fields. The last 2 Vanguard veterans, they are moving in support of their commander, and of course the World Eater's command remains locked in combat with the ironclad Dreadnought. Meanwhile the Terminators, they're stuck against a lot of World Eaters, and their Land Raider is moving forwards to give fire with its las cannon at whatever targets it can see. Meanwhile, the Master of Signal, in holding position on top of the landing pad, he has made himself very vulnerable as the Raven Guard Devastators can see him clearly through the central bunker complex. He better be expecting a volley of crack missiles. Meanwhile, the Stern Guard are advancing upon this trader position. There are not many World Eaters left here now, and of course the two remaining tactical marines remain locked with the Cataphracti Sergeant. This could be the end for Arian, but first we have Raven Guard shooting phase turn 5. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 5, and although it took the fire of both the Flamestorm cannon and the twin-linked assault cannons, both the fleeing rampagers were taken down, and the last tactical marine and apothecary. To the Ravens, they have cleared this area very effectively. This Land Raider opened fire at long range with its twin-linked heavy bolter and took out one of the auto cannon wielding World Eaters behind these barricades, and using power of the machine spirit it managed to inflict a glance on the rampager's Land Raider with its twin-linked las cannon. This Land Raider fired with no effect on the rampager's Land Raider, but the Master of Signal is no more. 2 crack missiles found their mark and blew him to pieces. Meanwhile, the advancing Stern Guard veterans, they open fire, and they have left only one World Eater from the tactical support squad alive, but he has passed his morale check yet again. He will not give in. But not much happening in the shooting phase. Not much important anyway. We move in to the interesting phase now. Raven Guard assault phase turn 5. End of Raven Guard assault phase turn 5, and the World Eater's commander is still standing on 1 wound. The Raven Guard chapter champion, he had to issue a challenge which Arian gleefully accepted. Meanwhile, the Ironclad, he picked up the World Eater's Legion standard bearer and tore him in half. But the 2 remaining members of the World Eaters command squad then managed 2 penetrating hits on the Dreadnought with their power fists, and he was blown to pieces, the explosion taking out one of the surviving 2 Vanguard veterans. Meanwhile, the rest of the Honour Guard and the Chaplain, they beat against the World Eaters' artificer armour with their weapons, but they could not penetrate. But then Captain Kide himself, he waded in with his power axe, and he took out both remaining members of the World Eaters command squad. Meanwhile, the chapter champion did actually manage to wound Arian once with his relic blade, but then the World Eater buried his axe right in the centre of his head and killed another Honour Guard with a backswing. So this combat has been absolute carnage and is ongoing. It looks grim for the World Eater's librarian, but there is hope, as the combat in the centre beneath the landing pad has come to an end in the World Eater's favour. Weight of attacks pulled down 2 more Terminators before they could strike, and the remaining Terminator got 2 hits with his power fist but rolled another double one. In return, the World Eater Sergeant took him down easily with his own power fist attacks, and the World Eaters, they are spilling towards the combat involving their commander. They are going to try to save him. Meanwhile, all the way over on the far right flank, the Cataphracti Terminator has finally taken out both remaining tactical marines with 2 swipes of his claws, and he is now looking with relish at the Stern Guard. So it's not over yet. This really has turned into a very close run game. We shall see as we go into World Eaters turn 5. End of World Eaters movement phase turn 5, and unsurprisingly all remaining World Eaters are charging at this ongoing combat. We will see if they can possibly save their commander's life. It is a long shot. He has only 1 wound remaining, and there's a lot of pretty nasty Raven Guard surrounding him. We shall see. Meanwhile, the Predator and the Marines with autocannons, they really can't contribute much more. All they have to shoot at is Land Raiders. This Land Raider, he might be able to take out one of his Raven Guard counterparts with his las cannon. He's going to have a go, and in the meantime The last Marine with his melter gun is moving to take out a Vanguard veteran, perhaps to charge the other. There's only 2 remaining in that squad. Maybe the Rhinos can add their fire and take out the other. And the Cataphractii Terminator, he has moved back down onto the ground. He is going to try and take on 5 Stern Guard. We will wish him luck with that. So, the game is poised on a knife edge. Arian is a Psyker. Let's see if he can use any psychic powers to help him in World Eater's Psychic Phase turn 5. And the World Eater's Psychic Phase turn 5, and with only 4 dice, Arian used 2 to try to manifest warp speed, and he failed. But he used his last 2 to cast Enfeeble on Captain Kaid and his Honour Guard, which was successful. Whether it will be useful or not is another matter. Let's see what the World Eaters can achieve in their 5th shooting phase. End of World Eaters shooting phase. Turn 5, and both the Rhinos and the Marine with the melter gun targeted the nearest Stern Guard squad, but had no effect. And the only other firing was from the Rampager's Land Raider, which used power of the Machine Spirit to target the Land Raider Redeemer. The las cannon bolt bouncing harmlessly off its armour, and the other Land Raider straight in front of it as well, and again the las cannon bolt failed to penetrate. So a shooting phase with no damage done, but now we come to it. World Eater's Assault Phase turn 5. End of World Eater's Assault Phase turn 5, and as the Tactical Marine with his melter gun charged into the Stern Guard, he survived their Overwatch fire, but they were waiting for him and they cut him down easily before he could do any harm to them. The Cataphractii Terminator did much better. He took no damage from Overwatch or from the Stern Guard's attacks, and he managed to slice 2 of them apart with his lightning claws. They remain locked. But at the end of World Eater's turn 5 assault phase, oh how the tables have turned. Arian felt the best chance he had for survival was to issue a challenge, which Vicar Kaid could not refuse with any honour. So he accepted. When he landed 3 hits with his power axe, we thought that the World Eater's Librarian was finished, but he rolled a 3, a 3 and a 1, which would ordinarily have been 2 wounds, but under the effect of Enfeeble, it was no wounds. In return, Arian smashed his Force Axe against the Shield Eternal and did no damage, but it was the World Eaters charging in to help their beleaguered commander that turned the tide. The charging veterans lost 1 of their number to the last remaining Vanguard, but they pulled him down. The World Eaters rended apart the Chapter Banner Bearer with their chain axes. 1 was smashed down by the Chaplain, but he left himself open to the World Eaters Champion's Power Fist, and he was instant killed. So Vicar Kaid is alone now against some veterans, some tactical marines, and the spotter from the Rapier Laser Destroyer. He's along for the ride as well. More importantly, Arian was unwounded. He is still alive. Nothing, it seems, can kill this World Eater. But still, we are going to go into Raven Guard turn 6 just to make sure. End of Raven Guard movement phase turn 6, and unfortunately for Vicar Kaid, the only Raven Guard units he has down this end of the battlefield are Land Raiders, which are not ideal to help him out of his current predicament. Still, the Redeemer has motored forward 12 inches to try and take out the rest of the World Eater's heavy weapons with a Flamestorm cannon, and this Land Raider has decided to take out the Predator with its las cannons. The final Land Raider from the Spearhead has begun to engage in a las cannon duel with the Rampager's Land Raider. The Raven Guard Devastators don't really have any targets worth shooting at, but they might content themselves with a couple of World Eaters Rhinos. And meanwhile, the 2 Stern Guard that triumphed over the last Special Weapons Marine, they are moving to engage the Cataphractii Sergeant from behind. Maybe they can bring him down with weight of attacks, like the World Eaters did to their Terminators in the centre. But all of these are side shows, really. The main event is still the Raven Guard First Captain against a lot of World Eaters. Still, let's see if the Ravens can do some more damage in their 6th shooting phase. End of Raven Guard, shooting phase, turn 6, and the Flamestorm cannon managed to incinerate 3 more Marines with autocannons, but the last remaining World Eater in this squad has held morale. This Land Raider managed to hit the Predator with one of its las cannon, but could not penetrate its armour, and nor could this Land Raider targeting the Rampager's Land Raider in the bunker complex. The Devastators decided to add their fire to this Land Raider, and they were rewarded as they did another hull point. And that is it for Raven Guard turn 6 shooting phase. Not a lot left on either side. Will the game be ended by the events of the next phase? Raven Guard assault phase, turn 6. End of Raven Guard assault phase, turn 6, and finally the Stern Guard have pulled down the Cataphracti Sergeant. They managed to cause 3 wounds with their huge number of attacks, and his ancient armour finally gave way. They are triumphant and he has fallen. But it's a different story over this side of the field. The Raven Guard, first captain, the Lord of Deliverance, Vicar Kide, he has fallen. The World Eater Sergeant declared a glorious intervention and barged between Arian and the Raven Guard captain, but it really was the rest of the World Eaters that did the damage. They unleashed a huge amount of attacks on the hapless captain, and he only had 1 wound left. Arian then stepped up to strike. It would have been fitting if he'd have taken his last wound, but he failed. The honour went to the sergeant himself. He took the captain's last wound with his power fist. But once again, Enfeeble did its work. Vicar Kide, he hacked around with his power axe. He got 3 hits, but he rolled a 1, a 2 and a 3. So, to add insult to injury, he did not take any World Eaters with him. And with that, we are drawing this epic game and this campaign to a close. We're not declaring a winner in this battle. Both sides have virtually nothing left. They have torn the heart out of each other, but the Ravens have failed in their effort to destroy all the World Eaters. Arian in particular lives to fight another day. He and the rest of his new warband, they can depart. He is their commander now, and after the events of this world, you have to ask, what will he be up to next? We hope you've enjoyed this game. We certainly have. It has swung one way and another, and it's a fitting end to a very, very enjoyable campaign. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya.